It's 1913. You're driving along in your brand new Ford Model T. The roof is down, the sun is out, life is good, but you're running out of gas. Luckily, the world's first gas station just opened up around the corner, so you pull in and fill up your car in seconds. This was a brand new concept at the time, and it planted a seed that would go on to change the world. The car market exploded, and soon more than 150,000 gas stations had been built all across the country, giving people the freedom to travel like never before. Since then, gas stations went from being dangerous fire hazards at the side of the street to ultra-efficient pit stops, pumping out 3 billion gallons of fuel around the world every day. We modeled the entire thing to show you the hidden engineering behind gas stations, the 100-year quest to master them, and the incredible mechanisms that make them work. In order to understand how gas stations work today, we need to go back to a time before they even existed. Most people didn't have cars yet, but kerosene was being widely used to power lamps and stoves. To get it, you'd go to a hardware store where an employee would pour it straight into a can and sell it to you. When cars started coming along, the kerosene would go from the store into a can, and the customer would pour it into their car using a funnel. This was slow and dangerous, and so there needed to be a safer and more efficient way to pour kerosene. That's when American inventor Sylvanus Bowser came up with the fuel pump. This was a hand-driven mechanism that squeezed kerosene from its container through a one-way valve and out of a nozzle on top. One full crank would dispense exactly 1 gallon of fuel. Soon, these pumps started being placed on city streets, allowing cars to be filled up conveniently by an attendant. But customers had no idea if they were actually getting all of the fuel they paid for. And so, a few years later, the visible fuel pump was invented. The attendant would first pump the fuel into a glass tank on top of the pump, measuring it to an exact amount. Then, by opening a valve, gravity would drain all of the fuel into the customer's car. These small curbside gas pumps worked well in the early days, when in 1900 there were only 8,000 cars in the whole US. But just 12 years later, that number increased to 1.2 million, and suddenly, cars were everywhere. Traffic jams started building up around every pump, and the small 50-gallon tanks couldn't cope with the demand. Worst of all, having all of the fuel stored above ground meant that things could go catastrophically wrong. And so, in 1913, the Gulf Oil Company opened up the first dedicated fueling station in Pittsburgh.